And we're live. Welcome to the Gordox Pub.
So I take it you couldn't hear what I was listening to.
Nope. Oh, that's what I forgot to set up. I knew there was something I was forgetting.
And I'm not super loud right now.
Gotta turn my light on. It fell behind my screen. Ugh. There we go. Oh, that's better. That's not me looking pale. Weird. Hey, Joe's here and he's first. If you're not first, you're second. Hi, Trey.
That's second.
How's it going, Joe? So, what are we working on tonight, Rich?
Oh, I don't have any clue.
How is it? It says we have 0 viewers, but we just had 2 people talk to us.
I don't know. It's a delay.
All right, whatever.
Or they're invisible. They're in invisible mode.
Joe says draw an X-Men, but
Yeah, wrong comic. I'll save that for if I stream Saturday. Draw something by request if some people are here to request. Yeah, that worked backwards. I was gonna cough away from the microphone.
Joe said that the weekly challenge is yours this week.
Yeah, well. I guess I'll do the one on some futuristic buildings until it starts shit.
It's not going to, I promise. I ignored the pronouns. What pronouns did I ignore?
He asked you if he said, whoops.
Oh,
Read
I
back.
didn't see that.
It's the second.
Yeah, I didn't ignore it. I just didn't see it. Oh. I'm, male. You can call me he.
He's not Michael Jackson, so you can't call him he.
No. Yeah. If you're going to call me he, I'd call me Lord he.
Oh, that's scarier.
Well. Oh, yeah.
See, that's the problem with the two screen system I use. Part of it just I don't know. Most of the stuff I tend to publish under is BA Boer. So that's
Not to
why
be
it's like
confused
that.
with, not to be confused with B.A. Barabbas.
Hey, when I was growing up and
You
the
probably
A-Team
want to be
was on,
confused.
and my father pointed out that Mr. T's character had the same initials as I did. That was pretty exciting. So, while you're drawing this, is it weird to talk about other locations?
I don't know. Guess we'll find out.
Okay, well, this isn't me telling you to do this. I just was wondering, like, because, I told you I sat around all last night and I did that wonderful, the whole button chair thing. Just kept staring at my screen. But, so I had some random thoughts that now I have to try to verbalize. But, you're good with like, any kind of outdoor setting, right? Like, there's nothing in particular, like, I don't know, you really don't feel comfortable drawing, I don't know,
It's not.
swamplands or something.
No, there's nothing outdoorsy that I'm. It's not that I won't draw anything. It's just some things are more difficult for me. Like, and I find a lot of comic artists or a lot of people that want to be comic artists have the same kind of strengths and weaknesses, and the ones that you find, I should just say that it's not just wannabe comic artists, it's pretty much illustrators. A lot of us get into drawing this way because we love to draw characters or muscle forms or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But the ones that really stand out are the ones that love to draw backgrounds. Like, and so you were mentioning that I didn't paint much for scenery. It's not that I don't paint scenery, it's just not my first choice. So I'm actually trying to be of that state of mind where that's what I was showing before, where I'm trying to draw from the backgrounds and then figure out what's going to go in the foreground.
Okay. So, I was
So cars are hard for me to draw, and certain kinds of architectures hard for me to draw because I have no architectural training, like to draw buildings and keep the certain round shapes the way they're supposed to be round shapes. But for me, looking at a comic book, and this could only be for me. I've heard a lot of talk about what goes into backgrounds and complaints about how this is drawing and this is not drawing, or this is good enough and this is not good enough. For me, it's about the story elements. Like any comic book, in any comic book, I can pick up any comic book, and there'll be a panel where you just see a person's face, or just a hand doing something, because that's what it's focused on. You don't need the background stuff, and if there's a lot of word bubbles or thought bubbles or whatever, that's actually going to cover up the art too.
Okay.
So, well, no, I'm not getting done with what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is that I don't think a background has to be perfect.
Yep.
Like, see, I've drawn the line grids and I'm working on the buildings, and then I'm going through and I'm roughing the pencil and not using the ruler after I've already laid the lines down, because it feels more organic. It feels more like it's been weathered. You know what I mean? Like something has happened to it, so that it's not perfect. And I don't have to have perfection when I'm looking at it. It just has to. I was talking to Joe about this on a different level. It just has to feel like the story. You know what I mean? And I may not have made that very clear, but like, it's not just the backgrounds either. Like how you represent the characters, whether it's a lot of heavy shadows or whether it's a lot in light, whether it's a lot in speed lines. It depends on the story, to me, whether or not it's effective.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to do this to be picture perfect, but that when I erase the grid lines, you kind of know what's going on. This is definitely not perfect, but it looks enough futuristic, like there's something there, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really what my key is. And I'm not telling you, Brett, so much as I'm telling anyone that's watching, because this is a public process right now. It's crazy because I haven't done this scale of comic book work in preparation ever before, but I want some stuff that I can refer to at any time that I want to. Like you were talking about not being set to something. So if I was doing an outside thing, unless I was doing some ruins, which that's what's most fun to me about a post-apocalyptic, is that can explore the ruins literally, like both visually and story-wise, writing-wise. So what's happening in the ruins? Why are they ruins? You know, all those kinds of questions we can explore where we may not have been able to before.
So here's another question for you. All right, so if I'm writing up a comic script, yeah,
I get you.
Some of this stuff, I mean, because basically I'm these are instructions for you, not, you know what I mean? Like, they're not instructions. I guess they're suggestions. I don't know how.
Some of it is. Okay, so you're talking about format, right? And the reasons for it, because what we're doing in all writing, and what I'm doing here too, is communicating. You're communicating to me and you're communicating to the reader. So there's different parts for different things. So when you say panel, like panel 1,
right,
and what you present after that in that panel 1 should be a brief description. It should be just enough to let me know what's going on in the panel, the action of the panel. And if it involves part of the setting for the action, or involves something new to be drawn or described, you know, in a way that hasn't already. And then most of your action or most of your writing that you're conveying to the audience is either in caption form, which is the little rectangular boxes. That's exposition. Um, Character caption, which usually is the same kind of caption box, but only maybe with a different color, or like used to be when Spawn did it, it was like a double rimmed box with little bubbles around it, but it was still clearly that it was a character thinking it, or a character telling that part of the story. So most of what you're conveying is either in those boxes, which are either a caption, the character's name in the caption, or dialogue, and that's you print the characters' names, you know.
So on setting issues, my feeling, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about this, because I could be very easily, but as the writer, if I don't have anything that has to be in the scene, you know, like, I don't know, I could see where I would say this has to be on a castle tower or something. Like, that kind of dictates it, but a lot of times it would just be, this is kind of the mood or the tone I'm going for. I guess it'd be mood. This is the mood I'm going for, or the atmosphere. This is kind of what I'm thinking for a setting. And then some things that might be cool but aren't necessary. So
All right, hold on a second. I just had some major crap going on over here. Like,
oh, I'm sorry.
My mic was doing some stuff, and I was trying to get my oval template and all that. So I heard about a third of what you were saying. So I had to stop you so that I don't have you repeat the whole conversation. Is it okay if I just say, hey, this is the mood, and, you know, it's a jungle, and, you know, you can kind of decide, you know, how, but there are certain, my job would be to say, these are the things I envision seeing, I suppose. Well, yeah, so Joe just said, I tell you, it's up to the artist you're working with, which I agree, but this is the artist I'm working with, so I kind of want to know how he wants to do it. It literally is about communication.
Okay.
So
well, I just don't want to annoy you, I guess.
No, I get what you're saying, and I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
It is literally about communication. So as long as if I can get what you're saying from what you're writing, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then you don't have to go into super detail or whatever. There's so many vastly different ways of writing a script that it's difficult to say there's one way or another. If you read Alan Moore's scripts,
yeah,
they're like novels. He expects the artist to draw every little thing that he says. And so instead of one script page per one comic page, which is generally where it is unless you say continue, he can have up to 5 or 10 for one comic page. It's really, really descriptive. And then you get some people like want to say Brian Michael Bendis, where and I could be wrong, but either that or Garth Ennis, where they just write the dialogue and they just like write little snatches of description here and there. They don't tell you what page, how many pages, what panel, how many panels. And then there are others that tell you how many. The standard is that you're supposed to tell you how many panels per page. And like Chuck Dixon gave me a couple of examples of his scripts, and what he does is he picks one panel that's the important panel. Say one page is a scene,
Yeah.
and there's one panel that is the key to that scene. That's the most important piece in that scene, right?
Yeah.
He'll do a little bit more description on that. Everything else, it's just a matter of telling you basically where the characters are and basically what's happening. So, like, if there's klaxons going off, the artist is going to draw the best view that the best view and representation of making those klaxons important to that panel, unless it's important to the whole scene. But generally that's not going to be important to the whole scene. It's going to be important to a panel. Like, if it suddenly bursts to life, you're going to either maybe pull in tight on that klaxon, or you're going to show somebody surprised at the klaxons. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
If there's a ship coming into orbit and you see it through a viewport, that's what you're going to say. There's such and such ship, whatever the title of the ship is coming into the viewport. That's what, unless there's a specific angle, unless you want to show the nose facing the viewport for some particular reason, then it's left to the artist to decide what's the most dramatic angle to do it at. You see what I mean?
Right.
So it's a co-working thing, and your job too is, like, if you see something, if you have a vision of something, or something that really is important, that is the key to that scene. That's where you frame that scene around. Then I need to know that.
Well, that's okay.
Because I won't guess. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. I just
Does that answer your question, though? I mean,
well,
or does it go way outside of the scope?
That was kind of more generalized, like, which is fine, because it's like it's educational in a way that anyone watching this would work, but it was kind of vague with what in the end, I need to know what you specifically would prefer.
Yeah, but for me to give you a specific answer, it have to be a specific situation. You see what I mean? Some things will work vague. Some things you can just tell me the vague description of, and that's fine, because we'll have some stuff established. But some things, they will need a little bit more description unless we have something established. You see what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
that's
so,
fine.
for instance, if you say setting exterior in the swamp, unless you have a specific part of the swamp, or there's a specific stone, like a pyramid shaped stone, or a obelisk shaped stone, or something in the middle of that swamp, then I'm just going to draw what I think would look cool for a swamp. If the characters are walking through the swamp, and they're getting tangles in what they're watching, you see what I mean? Or if they're getting tangled up in what they're walking through,
Right.
then you don't have to describe what they're walking through unless it's a specific thing that they're walking through.
Okay.
Like, if it's a specific kind of plant that's going to come into play and try to eat them, then I kind of need to know that. But other than that,
Okay. Well,
I mean, I'm trying to answer your question the best that I can.
Well, no, I think you have. I mean, I get what you're saying, and
You should have a lot more freedom, so you're not really uptight and worried about what my thinking is. unless there's a breakdown in communication, then just get specific so I know what you're thinking.
I mean, at least now you know that I am very much concerned.
Planning on a swamp scene?
No,
I'm just kidding.
I'm concerned. You know that I don't think I know how to do everything, and so if you know that I want to do it the way that works with you, so if something's not working on on my end or whatever, you know that I am happy to talk about what needs to happen or whatever. Or
right. So we're not your normal comic book pair.
That's
and
true.
When I say that, what I'm referring to is that we talk to each other all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to say something to me, you know how to get a hold of me pretty much anytime you want to. We're not worried about like stepping on each other's toes or whatever.
Well, I'm not necessarily worried, but I don't want to, and I know
Right.
you don't want to, and that's what not really. So that's good.
Right. I'm just saying because I don't want you to feel uptight about anything, because if I wanted you to be restricted, I wouldn't say, "Hey, why don't you be the writer?"
Right.
I would say, like, why don't you let me bounce some ideas off you? Like, I do want some input because definitely I've got ideas, but I'm perfectly fine with letting you grab a hold of the reins for some. Most of it, really, as far as writing goes. But the imagination part, it's going to be both of us, right?
Right.
I mean,
So-
we've been talking about doing a collaboration for a long time, so this shouldn't be super difficult. Anyway, you were saying?
So last night I told you like that thing where I emailed you about I messaged you on Discord about the transporter. It's because I was like, there are some similarities, but then also I was like, Johnny
Yeah.
Mnemonic, there are some similarities. Now,
Yeah. You're
the
not
funny
going
thing
to find...
is you can't say that. And I later on, after you had, said that it's not the transporter, I was like, well, if I can find similarity with Johnny Mnemonic and the transporter, and yet I would never consider those two stories remotely the same, I think we're okay. But
so what I was going to say is that we expect a bit of familiarity,
Right.
It's perfectly fine to resemble other influences, and those influences be fairly obvious. It's not perfectly fine to outright copy everything, but like as far as the transporter goes, it's no closer to the transporter than it is to Extraction.
Okay,
Transporter
that's
is about one car or a guy in a foreign country on a, and Extraction's the guy whose job it is to extract people. So, I mean, but we're doing a different time period. We're doing different, like there is a plot, and that's the thing. The reason that this story is being told is not because this guy helps extract people. The reason this story is being told is because of why he's extracting that person. That is the story, right? It's not just what he goes through to extract it. It's why. Why is that important? Why is this a story worth telling? Because other than that, it's just another extraction.
Is it, so why it's important to him, or why is it important?
Why is it important to the reader? Why is the story important to be told? Like, you know what I mean? That's the question for all writers all the time, right? Uh-oh.
I,
I just mind fucked you, right?
well,
It's-
no, I
It's
just
the same question everybody asks you when you're in a writer's group. Like, why is that important enough to be told? Why is that story important enough to be told?
yeah, and I get it. I just
And I'm not trying to say, like, you know, you need to have a reason for the story. It's a reason that the story is being told, which is a totally different thing.
I like the John Brown methodology better. What's cool?
Okay. Yeah, but you know, that's still a story that needs to be told. Like, if you have you
'Cause
read
it's
any
cool?
of his have you read any of his work though? No, because the John Brown method, that's only one part of it. You're talking about your Zing and your Boom list.
Yeah, I suppose, but
Those are the lists of things that make genres cool for you. What specific things in those genres are cool for you?
okay, yeah,
But
Those-
that's just the background. That's not the key to the plot, right?
well, I don't know if he necessarily goes into the whole. Like, I don't worry about my stories being. I like Orson Scott Card's ideas better. That any deeper meaning you ascribe after it's written, and
Yeah, except for that's exactly what I'm saying. You're diving into that when I say, why does this story need to be told? I'm not talking about the deeper literary meaning. I'm talking about, why is this story the one to be told about this guy instead of any of the other extractions? You know why?
Well-
Because that's why he's extracting this person. It's important because if he didn't, the replications, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So that's why this story is important. This story is important because of what he's actually doing. What he's, you know, it's not just extracting a person; it's extracting a specific
okay.
secret, right?
So this is getting to where I was having a problem, and it's not a problem with anything that you want. It's more of a problem. Like, I'm just
That's
there are
weird.
challenges with it that I'm not sure how to fix. That's what I really mean. So,
Oh, well,
but you know how you just
know.
talked about, you know, why is this the story, the extraction story to tell? You know, out of any other, you know, why is this more than just an extraction story?
right. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I get what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. Like, that's like, I am on board with that 100%. But that's why on the action, the first, the introduction, and why I was like, it seems like it's going to be kind of repetitive. It's going to be like a condensed version of the bigger story because it's another extraction.
Yeah, because it's not about the one extraction leads to another.
Well, okay,
So-
and
It is that's his life is extractions. So,
well, okay,
but the key is that the first extraction doesn't possibly save a war. You know, like and it's hard to talk about this without giving stuff away that we're still chiseling out. But
Okay.
there's reasons, right, for why this extraction is happening. And the first extraction just leads you to know that there's going to be a need for an extraction otherwise. Does that make more sense? Like, they're two different purposes. But that's all he does is extract. So he doesn't necessarily get involved in the reasons for the extractions. But on this particular one, right, that would be the whole relationship to the transporter. Never look at what's in the bag, right? Or never look at what's in the package.
Okay.
Well, if the first one, he's not looking what's in the package, and then what's in the package pretty much leads him to the second one, then we haven't gotten that far yet, but there needs to be a reason for him to look and see what's in the package, if that's going to be the key thing. If that's going to be the key thing.
So, okay.
All right, that's fine. I think that
I'm trying to not give anything away,
well, part of me, I mean, I get what
and
you're
that's
trying
kind
to
of hard. Like,
for right
that's
now,
kind
I
of-
would just say, I don't care what you talk about, but really, I wouldn't give away the main targets or the main assets, the twist there, whatever. But, and I know how you want to foreshadow that, and I'm down with that. I can,
yeah, it's a little bit of a twist. We haven't explored the whys, what exists before that this will make a difference for. Do you understand what I mean?
yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know if I necessarily need that explored. I mean, I can. I
think that's the difference between, that's what makes the stakes,
Well, yeah, I get that. I just don't know how much.
That's where I'm at. That's what I was saying. It's the stakes
Okay. Well, okay.
that matter for that. That's it. I mean, it's
Okay.
You have to have stakes, and they have to keep
Yeah.
being upped, right? And
Right.
so that's basically what I was looking at, is that we don't have the stakes yet. We know that this will be an advantage. We don't know what's going to happen without, or what that advantage will lead to, because we haven't explored that yet. The stakes, like if we don't get this information, what's going to happen from it,
Okay.
So that's we just haven't done that. So
Okay, that's fine. Let's see what else. There are just certain things that I'm asking about, because these are the things that were getting me stumped last night. And, like, I worried about the introduction Like, that's always been my concern. Was how to make it not how to make it not just a compressed version of the bigger story. Because I didn't.
Well, here's something that you didn't consider, I bet, when you're talking about that.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Moulin Rouge?
Yeah.
What's a musical? According to Moulin Rouge.
Oh, I don't remember what.
They tell you the plot in the first 10 minutes, and then they take the rest of the time to show you. And it worked. And it worked knowing that that's what they were doing. So when you watch the movie, they tell you what they're going to do, then they do it, and you still like it anyway. And I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying that that's a tack that we should take. I'm just saying, don't be overly concerned with it, because if it's a mini version of something that's going to happen, it's also supposed to be kind of a precursor. It's supposed to be foreshadowing to let people know that something of this sort's going to happen.
Well, I get that, but
it's for totally different reasons. Like one is telling somebody that there is certain things going on that they didn't know, and the other is to make a big difference. So, I mean, if you're a mechanic and your story is that you're a mechanic, if you just look at it like they're just plowing, working on cars or whatever, then you're going to get bored with it. There has to be something big in that car. Well, that car has a bomb and this one has a bomb in it. Or, you know, this one is the car that somebody got killed in, or this is evidence of a robbery, or, you know, there has to be something to make it not just the same old, even though you're going to show him working on other cars. And maybe the intense scrutiny that mechanic will pay to a car will be the specific reason that he sees what's going on in that car. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't be afraid of, if this is the guy's job. His job is to extract people. So that's not going to be new every time. It's still going to be his job to extract people. We just have to make those reasons something else. Did you like give me a second here. Did you like Rogue One?
Yeah.
Did you like Star Wars?
Yeah.
Did the fact that they were stealing the plans for the Death Star bother you when you've already seen the plans be delivered, or the plans be shuffled around, or them hunting for the plans in Star Wars?
No.
Right. It's just the way that you tell it. So I don't think you should fear it, I guess is what I'm saying, is that embrace it and then find a way to make it different. Find a way to make it better. Find a way to make it more exciting. That's what we're supposed to be doing anyway, so. I think there's an interesting story that's being ignored, which is what I was saying to you when you were telling me you were worried about the transporter aspect of it. Right? I think that the first extraction has to do with somebody else, not something else. And that story needs to be explored as well. So first we tell the 3-page story, right?
Uh-huh.
And then from that 3-page story, we're going to expand. So we don't have to focus just on the extraction character. Wow, that's horribly not straight.
Wrong month, Rich. Wrong month. Ah. Oh, that's a terrible joke.
Hey, now who's driving subscribers away?
Ah. Yeah. Ah. That's just wow.
With your male pronounism. What are they going to call that?
That's what she said.
She said, "Ew, you're cis."
Oh, goodness. Ah.
See, I intend to draw some of these backgrounds and then save them.
Yeah.
And then make them into hard black line stuff that I can just trace over later on. But I already drew them. So they're not 3D assets, they're 2D assets that I already created.
Okay.
Kind of like cartoons. You draw a background and then you do the stuff on the foreground.
Okay.
But I'm just going to save the background so that I can apply them to the panels I need. And scan them on and change the size of them and, you know.
Yeah.
If I had the skills that Mike Hoffman showed, then I wouldn't need to do this shit. Well, he made a maquette of a city for a comic that he was working on. So he literally did models of the street with cars, trash cans, buildings, graffiti, everything. You know what I mean? And then they canceled it. But I just thought it was cool to be able to have that maquette so that you could change the lighting on it, you know, at any time to create any time of day or night. He had little lights in there for street lights, you know, or street lamps. So that was really interesting to me. Like I don't have that skill. I know a couple of people that I've been talking to that are that work with like small models for remote control cars and stuff like that. That I thought if somebody was just a step above, then that would be really cool. Maybe I could work some trade out. 'Cause I definitely can't afford to buy the stuff to make my own models. So did you have ideas for the story, or?
Yeah, well, some, but it was never anything that I could quite make work. That was the problem. And so then I kept thinking of um, uh, I don't know. I mean, the different things I thought up for the opening, the I mean, you create based off of the stuff you've experienced. You take things from. So that's when I was like, oh, that's kind of like Johnny Mnemonic. And then, because I had one idea that wasn't just nothing that I want. There are certain things that I know I want in the introduction. There are certain skills I know I want to display in the introduction. So I'm kind of making a list of things that need to occur, and also there's the stuff that you wanted to occur, the foreshadowing and stuff, and that's.
Well, I just thought it would be a cool element to foreshadow. Like, to not, nobody's going to know it's foreshadowing until it's foreshadowing. Like they're not going to know that. Yeah, I can't even talk about this there because if I talk about it here, it will ruin the foreshadowing. So I'm going to drop a private message in.
Well, that also had me thinking, like, some of the logistics of some of the science fiction aspects that we wanted to use. I felt like I needed to have a better handle on that. So I don't know if I necessarily want to talk about that on stream. But those were some aspects because it opens up possible ideas. There's also so hold on before I say anything too stupid.
Nah, that's probably not going to affect what you're thinking anyway.
Oh, the private chat?
Yeah. So, Harlan Ellison.
Yeah.
Is had famously said that he wrote a lot of short stories
Yeah.
being in a bookstore.
Right.
And reading the blurbs on the back of a book. So he didn't actually mimic the book. He just took the basic idea from the book. And he didn't read into the book to see how they achieved the idea. He just took the idea. You see what I mean? Like, and this is directly relating to what you're worried about with maybe it being too close to one movie or another or whatever. Like, there are two of us, and we constantly find out that there are movies that I've seen that you haven't, and vice versa.
Right.
So, put in that light, I think anything that you did that or said that would be too much like something else that I've seen,
Yeah.
I would mention, or I would say, well, and this is what I think working together with another writer or artist does very well, is like you go, okay, well, what if we twisted it like this? You know what I mean? This guy's got a kind of skull head design. How many skull head designs are there in comics? Probably thousands, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, he's big and muscular. But what makes him different? It's a little bit different of a helmet, a little bit of a different reason maybe why he has that helmet on, which I'll talk to you about, because some of these things you would need to create and some of these things I have an idea for. But his eyes, to me, the eyes actually are metal. And they are scraped and dinged. I want him to kind of look eerily like a statue in the head, you know? There's no emotion on his head.
Okay.
What I'm saying with that is that if you or I, see something that's too similar for our tastes, you were talking about that veto thing. Well,
Yeah.
instead of veto, I think the rule should be twisted. Show me how you twist it so that it's different. You know what I mean? I think Eli is calling his mother.
So I was like, somebody's making a phone call.
Yeah, he's got a watch called the Gizmo
Yeah.
that he's got a certain number of people that are programmed into that Gizmo,
Yeah.
so he can call them without dialing anything. He can just call them.
Cool.
And she told him that if he needed her, just call. It's getting really near bedtime, and he's been ill today, so I think that's got something to do with it.
Mom, be here.
Yeah, we have to actually communicate on what story idea is going on, but I think really with the two of us, if we come up with something, a story element or whatever that seems too much like another story element and describe how, then if you can't twist it, I can, I'm pretty sure. And vice versa, if I can't twist it, you can, I'm pretty sure.
Oh. See, part of the problem I'm having, and you're kind of having it too, because we don't know what we can talk about on the stream. Because part of it, you want to keep stuff, keep a little back, But
Well,
you also have
think
to generate interest.
I think we're going to, as far as generating interest goes, we're either going to generate interest saying that we're creating a comic and actually doing it, or we're not going to at all. But what I'm thinking as far as what we can and can't talk about is I would only hold back anything that would be a major twist. Like, I'm not mentioning the character's name only because we haven't solidified a name.
Okay.
I'm not mentioning the city's name only because we haven't solidified the city's name. You know what I mean? Do we have a name for him yet? If we have a name for him, then I don't mind using those names. Once we put it here, we're already proving that we created it first because it's already recorded. So that's not a big concern for me. Well, my big concern is ruining the twist to the story.
Okay.
Or not having, saying that something is going to happen and then not having it happen because we decide that something would be better, or I just don't want to go and say that we're doing this or we're doing that and not do this or that, or lead people to believe that we're going to be representing something that we're not going to.
I just asked a question in private.
I'm in the
chat.
middle of asking one.
Okay. Well, because
if I think that would be
because that's
I'm looking at your question and I just wonder, because I think that's the thing we have. Are we going to explore that, or are we just going to throw that out?
Okay, so the reason why I wanted to talk about it, I mean, that's something that's a technology that's supposed to be throughout the entire story, at least that is one of those aspects of the world that we've established. So there's no twist there, that in my mind.
Well, is it all right? The only reason that I'm asking if the twist or not is because what will it reveal about things later on, and will it reveal anything about? I don't know where we're going. So, like, if this is a common, all right. So I'm going to say this on one. If this is a common courier technique,
yeah,
then it's okay to talk about it online because we're saying that it's common.
Okay, so I think I think we can talk about that.
Okay, if we're gonna make it explicit for some reason, or something that's not common, or something that's only rare, that would be not common, I guess. But rare versus top secret, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends on how common you want to make it. If you want to make that fairly common, that'd be okay. But I was thinking of it like a spy device type of thing. Which
Well-
it's cool if you want to just reveal that and not be whatever. That's your invention. I just love it. So if you want to put it out there, you put it out there because I think it's really cool.
Okay, then I will. Because
Yeah, it's up to you, man. That's yours.
so, which, by the way, this isn't 100% mine because
Oh no,
Hey,
that's your suggestion, and that's I thought it was fucking really cool. So like
Okay.
I'm not taking it away from you because that was your. I wasn't thinking like that at all. Like I wasn't thinking of it as that type of courier system. I was just thinking of an organic delivery, not a living organic delivery.
Well, so the idea, which they've looked into some of this with mRNA, like this has been at least posited.
Do you want to tell
This could-
people what that is?
Messenger RNA, ribonucleic acid.
Okay, there we go. Well, I mean, because chances are they're not gonna know.
oh, you just wanted to see if I knew my basic biology. I don't know if that's really basic.
No,
but
you
whatever.
probably know more than I do about basic biology. I don't even work with someone that knows biology,
So
unless you count you.
so the idea is that you could hide information using mRNA, which is a cool idea. So we were playing
And
around with it.
essentially means
So because what I had been thinking about was that like one of the ideas I'd started to play around with for the introduction, that first three-page thing, was he has to do an extraction of a courier, and then I started having serious questions about how that would work, because you and I had discussed, that there could be a time limit, like how long the message lasts in the system or something in your blood.
I was thinking. I wasn't thinking that. So, I'm only just injecting that. That's not what my thoughts were. When I was talking about time limit, I was talking about time limit for what the message is to have happen.
Okay, well, I mean, that was just
No, I just wanted to interject. That's your thinking.
okay.
and-
That's my thinking, I guess.
Yep, that's why I said it's yours, man. Fucking, I'm not gonna try to take credit for that. That's you.
Well, I didn't know. So, if I know, let's say that I'm the I've been hired to get this courier to wherever, or to get him out of wherever. But how do I put this? If you know someone's a courier, why can't you just draw some blood and now you have, like, how would that work?
Well, unless you knew that the blood has something to do with it. And that's why I said, is it, a top secret thing, or is it something that's common? Like,
See, to me, I think of it as something where, it's easy to hide the courier because it could be anybody, right? And so that kind of has its own security thing. But if you know it's a courier and you don't care about the courier, you just care about the information.
Right.
How secure is that?
Okay.
So I was just trying to make all of that work, basically, because part of me likes the idea that he goes in and he's hired to, exfiltrate some courier, and the courier is kind of being a dumbass jerk, and basically,
And he just shoots him and takes the blood.
well, yeah. So he just cuts an arm off and says this will work. I mean, you don't really need the person. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a play in my mind, like a really modern take on, when they take the briefcase and they chain it to the guy's wrist. So, how do you get the just cut the guy's arm off? Well, okay, except for now it's not quite a briefcase or whatever, but it's...
So then the writer part of me says, how come they didn't think of that?
Well, see, that's why I figure there has to be another safeguard.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's
Well, I'm glad I'm the artist on this and just the nitpicker.
Thanks, Rich.
So, all right. Well, at least. Huh. See, when I don't have an answer yet, I'm like, that's why eventually it might be. This is what I did last night. I would just sit and stare and think, and just wasn't getting anywhere with it.
So, if I asked you that question, like, why would you use a courier that somebody could just cut an arm off of? Like, why would you use one of them?
Well, that's why I figure there's got to be some encryption that you would also need, because the message. I mean, again. Then I also thought about, well, maybe it degrades. If it gets oxygenated, it decomposes. The courier doesn't know what the message is and can't read it and can't know. So it's incredibly private.
Joe says I know about it, but I don't know what he knows about. Biology, DNA, RNA.
No, I think it was we were talking about mRNA. And then part of me is also thinking, or I can just mention what's, I just kind of mention what it is. You wanted it shown more, and I was like, all right.
Well, yeah, because comics is a visual medium. So, if you can explain it in the box this big. But I think, What we were talking about was
Right, Joe. That's kind of what I was thinking too.
I don't know if this is going to work. Been using a pillow because this chair hydraulics are going. So I was trying to raise myself up, but for some reason a pillow is hurting my tailbone.
Huh.
So I'm standing up at the moment. Gives me a totally different view of this.
Uh-huh.
Boy. Yeah, that's quite a bit further than I was going with it, especially for 3 pages.
Well, it's not that I wanted to. That's one of those things where I have to figure out the rules so I know what to show. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to explain. I don't necessarily need to explain on the page how everything works, but I have to know how it works so that I can use it on the page. So, like, when you were talking about, why would anyone use a system that can just do this? Like, I agree. So I have to know I have to know the answer to that. That doesn't necessarily mean I put it on the page if it's not directly relevant. Like, it's just one of those things where I know why. And if a story ever comes up where we need to explain that, we could, but I guess I don't feel like, because technically you could cheat and just not have an answer for it, but I like having my ducks in a row.
Well, if you're going to choose something that is verifiable, then I think you kind of have to have an explanation at the ready.
Pretty much.
Because comic fans aren't idiots. And I know a lot of mainstreamers think that that's the case, but I think that's a foolish position. So I don't think maybe you need to have go into it that far. I think the strength in our story is that the point of view character wouldn't know. Right?
You wouldn't know about the mRNA stuff?
He wouldn't know about the backstory to it. He would just know what he's supposed to do.
Oh, right.
He doesn't have to know what the package is comprised of. You know what I mean? Or even if in my original proposal, he didn't know that it was a courier. He just knew that he had to extract somebody. Right?
Right.
So my original proposal, had nothing to do with something that he had to have this knowledge of. That's not saying that it's not a cool idea and that we shouldn't explore it, because that's exactly what I was saying, is that we should. just saying that because the story is being told from a particular point of view or series of points of view, the smart way around that is to avoid using a point of view that knows that. You don't have to explain it if one of the characters understand that. And that's one of those things that you know and you know why, but
Yeah,
you
but
don't have to explain why because the audience won't know certain things. You were going to say something?
well, I just figured out how it all works.
Oh, okay. So if you want to share that, you can, but
No, I'm gonna have to let that one sit for a little bit, but I think
No,
I know how
I-
it all works now.
I wasn't saying on here. I was saying like
Oh.
if you wanted to share it in the comic book, that's one thing. But you don't. I don't think you have to. That is what I was ultimately getting at. Is that I don't think
Well-
you have to share those details unless something. It's kind of like Brandon Sanderson's magic, right?
Right.
Like the first rule of magic is that you can only use magic to solve the problem if the audience knows that magic can solve the problem in the way that in which you're doing it. Like they have to know enough about the rules of magic for that to be acceptable or plausible, right?
Right.
So this is the same thing. It's the same rules of magic. It's just science, right? Different kind of magic. So it depends really on.
I need to put that on my Spotify.
What's that?
It's Kind of Magic, the Queen album. That was basically the soundtrack.
Yep.
I haven't listened to that in a while, and now I want to. Yeah. Okay. Well, now that I know how that works, see, I knew it'd eventually happen. For anyone who thinks that writers sitting around staring off into space, if that's not work, oh God. It's work. Ugh. Yeah. Well. Okay. Um,
out of evil curiosity, what's the big difference between an exfiltrator and a kidnapper? Okay. You good? Uh-oh. Huh. Hey, Joe, can you hear me? All right. Well, Rich is experiencing some technical difficulties, as in he can't hear. No, he can't hear. He has no sound. I know this because of the private jet. Not because we're telepathically linked, because that would be weird. Oh yeah, I get it. I don't know what he's doing. No, never. They'll send out the Men in Black. He's trying something.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you too. What the hell?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, like everything went dead silent for no particular reason.
Oh,
I didn't touch the mic. I didn't, I didn't hit the mute. Didn't swipe across the channels because obviously my hands were busy. This is why I don't use this mic. For some reason, shit keeps going on with it. Last time it was feedback, and then you were saying that it was getting feedback last time.
did you pay your mic bill?
Well, since I own it,
Yeah.
yes, technically I didn't. Somebody else did because they bought it for me. But put my headphones away real quick, and then I'll get back to drawing on my futuristic building. The first one on the block.
Oh,
I wish I could just drop this stuff down real quick, and all of a sudden it's all there. I can't even rough it out the way I'm thinking because it doesn't take place like that. thinking about characters and bad guys, like we were saying, that we don't have an ultimate bad guy on this, and you didn't think that we needed one. And
Well,
hold on a second. When you think of Indiana Jones,
uh-huh.
the first Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Uh-huh.
who's the bad guy?
Well, I mean, there's more than one of them. I mean,
That's right. Belloc.
what?
Belloc.
Okay.
Belloc would be the other archaeologist.
Oh, okay.
The one that stole the head from him in the beginning, and the one that was head of the excavation. And then there's the dude that got the head of the staff burned into his hand.
All right.
Ultimately, it's Hitler. Because Hitler set them all in motion.
Uh-huh.
And ultimately, they answer all to Hitler, right?
Okay.
So who's in charge that we see?
Right. And
Is it Belloc or is it the other guy? Because both of them have a certain degree of power.
I thought the guy that got burned was the underling, though.
Except for he's the one that took Marion and threw her down in the fucking pit. He overruled Belloc's decision. So, I mean, it's questionable. And I'm not saying that that I'm right and you're wrong or whatever, but I'm saying that there's more than just what we were talking about to consider. This guy's a henchman. He's a hunter. He's a tracker. He's the foil, perhaps, to our main character. But he's not the one that set himself on the path. He is our Boba Fett, for lack of a better term. Except for Wiener. And if our Boba Fett was to take over a mobster, he wouldn't be nice to everybody. He'd be a fucking mobster.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
What's funny about that is,
okay, I had to.
no, I mean that 100% is accurate. Like, it is ridiculous. Like, okay, Star Wars is always kid friendly. So this idea that you needed to make Boba Fett a good guy, just, I think, really kind of defeats the purpose. Like, you turn him into an anti-hero, perhaps, but he shouldn't have been a good guy. And oh gosh, when they changed the name of his ship, or they got rid of the name of his ship,
Slave One, and now all of a sudden it's not popular to say slave.
so I'm like, that's one of the most universally recognized things in human history. Everyone's had, every group has pretty much had slaves in some way, shape, or form, and been enslaved.
Right, and most of those groups, slave has a different definition. Like, has different connotations. The Roman slaves weren't like what we think of when we think of Civil War era slavery, right?
Right, but I'm just saying, I don't think we had to get rid of the term.
or the name of his ship.
Same thing with Spartans. Spartans had slaves that actually fought with them at Thermopylae. But those same slaves, as part of their training, they would have to sneak off and kill one. If they got caught, they got punished. But if they didn't get caught, you know. So it's just different aspects. People use that word. It's like I hate that they limit words nowadays. They limit what you can and can't say for words nowadays, because certain words have specific meanings and connotations. Like, and if I'm playing a word game, like I play Wordwall, and over the course of the time I've been playing it, certain words have been taken out of usage. Rape is not there anymore. Rape is still a fucking word. I'm sorry, if you can spell it, it's still a word. You know,
Yeah.
it's not something nice, but there's a lot of not nice things that you can still spell in that game. And there's a lot of things that are sexually connotative or whatever.
Connotative.
Right? There's a lot of words there that imply something else. And I've also seen foreign words that have been now put into it. They're words that are from a different language, but it's only certain words from different languages that are acceptable. But the thing is that rape, slave, they're not good words. They don't mean good things, but they're words. And they express certain things. You still can express that. You still have to express that. If you're going to fight against it, you have to express what you're fighting against. It's just now that you have to go around the block to do it. Like you have to draw somebody a picture instead of just outright saying it the simple way, because they want to make things more difficult for everybody these days. And I don't know if I really understand that. I mean, I understand it's that whole, if you change the language, you control the people thing. So I guess I partially do understand it. And my battery's running low. Everything's running against me tonight. There's a certain plug, ridiculously, a certain plug that I have to. If I don't plug it into it, I don't plug it into a specific plug, it don't have juice. And if I don't see that light on, if I kick that plug or whatever, it just does weird shit. So if I disappear, that could possibly be the reason. Because all of a sudden it just popped up that I have like 2% battery power or something.
Things are not going well for you tonight.
Didn't show it was charging. 6%. Well, now it's charging, so
All right.
I'll keep my feet away from it and
We shall persevere.
maybe I'll switch off drawing and leave this building alone for a few. I took this and I was waiting in a doctor's office because Eli went to see his doctor this morning.
Yeah.
Well, this afternoon. And I got this sketchbook I said a friend of mine gave to me. And I've been, trying to do something in it when I'm not doing anything else. I drew this dude's head close up, but I haven't drawn the main character's head close up.
Oh.
That's one of the things I was thinking about that needs to be done. I need to be able to draw them quite a lot because I need to have some muscle memory on them so they look the same every time. I'm also thinking that that guy looks too thin in the original sketch for him, not the guard, the ones that ended up being guard, but the one that I did last time before him.
Okay.
Well, because I don't want him to look like a bodybuilder, because he's not a superhero, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But I also don't want him to look like he's undernourished. And I kind of felt like that other one was starting to look undernourished, malnourished. This may end up being a short stream, but last time when you left, 6 people showed up.
So it's me. I'm driving everyone away.
Not saying any of that. I'm just saying, well, I think it had something to do with time period.
Oh.
Like the time of day period. Because it was like literally I was saying, I'm going to shut this down. And then somebody's like, hi. I'm like, oh, crap.
Not that
How do you shut it down when you just tell, when somebody's just showing up? I don't know if I like that as far as notification goes. Should be right here. This was a ball. Incorrect. There is no bottom of his face. I really do like the idea of him being completely faceless until he moves one. Yes, it is similar to Maskatron. Yes, it is probably similar to a bunch of other things, but
Madonna's character and Dick Tracy.
yeah, that movie just wasn't memorable for me. So
I liked that movie.
okay, so it was memorable for you. It wasn't for me.
Well, I felt like.
Blah.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Like I guess the best thing I can say is that I really wasn't like, hey, I hate this movie. There was nothing that said, well, this is a great movie, or this is a really good movie, or I want to remember this movie, because I just don't remember anything of importance. But I remember Lauren Beatty. I remember the basic characters because those are the basic characters that are in Dick Tracy. So,
Well, I did not know a lot about Dick Tracy until I saw the movie. So it was an introduction to a lot of those gangster characters, which were fun. And really, the way the film was lit, and I mean, it's
How was it
severely
lit?
color blocked. And it was just, I just really liked it. I mean, I thought visually it looked neat. Now,
How is it lit different than uh, like The Crow or any of that? Or Batman?
if you look, like it'll like each scene is a color kind of, um, and
I thought it was basically still heavy shadows to look like noir.
yeah, but the light. I'm telling you. I mean, just look at it. It's a neat. I I, I like the way it was shot. I just do.
Okay.
And
I'm not saying anything against it. I'm just asking. How was it
Uh,
different than other movies that are in a similar vein?
because I think they really leaned into the color aspect of it. Um,
Because they
So-
lead into the primary colors, you mean? Like his yellow jacket and the red tie?
yeah, like bright yellow, but even you get like green and stuff, and it's a saturated color scheme. Not so I liked it.
Yeah,
It
I'm not
was-
judging you. I'm just asking.
it's a similar style. If you've ever seen the music video for Last Dance with Mary Jane,
Uh,
each
Nope.
like section of it has a very strong dominant color.
can't
And
say as I have, but I have seen that in Sin City
okay,
with him choosing one color and the spirit and choosing just the tie for a color.
right,
In Sin City, it was the yellow bastard. It was
yeah,
her blue eyes. It was very specific things, but yeah, it was very primary in their color. So now I get to bring up another movie that I've mentioned to you, and you probably still haven't watched.
probably not.
House of Flying Daggers. The colors, the seasons, they are actually almost characters in the movie. So I can understand how you think the color was important. So the look of it, I can see that being memorable. But the rest of it, like I couldn't tell you anything about Madonna's character except for that it was Madonna and fucking Warren Beatty and they were together at the time.
Yeah, I can't tell you much.
And,
I mean,
and
the
that's
story
the
is
thing
not the best.
That's
But-
the thing that makes a movie for me is mostly in the story. And like when I say House of Flying Dagger, it's because when I say that the colors are part of the character, is they are definitely they're so strongly a part of the storytelling that if it was filmed in any other way, the story wouldn't have the same effect. It just wouldn't. And that director, he did that with another one that was on Netflix called Shadow, where almost everything is in black and white. It's really not in black and white, but the colors are so muted that it seems like it's in black and white. But I can tell you what those are about. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you more to the story than just that was a great visual story. It's the same thing like when I said, well, Sin City is like that, or when I said, how is it filmed differently than, say, The Crow? Because The Crow is a lot of muted, dark, shadowy, noir stuff. And the answer was that they use the right primary colors, which is true. That's not something they used in the Crow. They didn't employ that, but it wouldn't have been. It would have totally shattered some of the illusion of the story to do that. I don't know if there's all that many movie-wise stories that do have a weigh an importance on primary colors or saturated colors, if you prefer. That's interesting. Interesting that made it memorable for you, also. You know.
Well, okay. So the way I well, I'm just saying I think the first Hulk movie, the one that
first Hulk movie.
Yeah, the first one. I think Ang Lee did that
one.
Right?
Right now?
No.
Oh,
the first Hulk movie released to theaters, not on TV. So, and it had what's his name? Eric Bana. Is that his name?
Eric Bana, yeah.
That played Bruce Banner.
He was in Troy too.
What?
He was in Troy too.
Okay. But so that Hulk film.
Okay, he was Hector.
I'm just saying that Hulk film was like the way it was shot, and they put the frames trying to capture the feel of a comic book and all that. I thought Dick Tracy did better without the gimmick. Like they used color blocking to make kind of like frames, and I thought it was a better technique. Like Ang Lee's was too blunt, too obvious, and
what
the way they shot, like they would put things in frames, and they'd put multiple frames up, like panels, and it's too on the nose.
That was Ang Lee's choice, though. That was his directorial choice. That's just like doing Sin City when you do the black and white bricks to do the white mortar for the bricks, which it never is white, but he did it to make it look like the comic book. So it's a direct association to the comic book. Dick Tracy's not really a comic book; it's a comic strip.
Okay, I still think the color blocking I think it was a better connection than what was done in the Hulk. That's all. I mean, I really do. So
I can remember the Hulk better than I can remember Dick Tracy.
Well, it's also newer. Like,
I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I can remember the Crow better than both of them.
I think the Crow might be newer.
Dick Tracy? Maybe. I don't think so, but it could be.
I'm just going to look it up because, Dick Tracy is a 1990 film. And The Crow is a 1994 film.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Dick Tracy's.
So what else came out in 1990?
I have no idea. Part of it is there was a marketing push for Dick Tracy that was similar to what they had done with Batman the year before. And
remember Batman better?
Well, Batman's a better film.
Hard to Kill, that came out that year. Remember that pretty well?
I don't. I mean, I know what you're talking about. I've seen the film.
I do. Misery, that came out that year. Remember that pretty well?
And that's a much better film.
Okay. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying I don't remember it that well. I think The Crow's a much better film. It lasts a hell of a lot longer. It's still much better. So I mean, I remember it because it was a better film. Goodfellas came out that year. That was a better film. These are why I remember. This is why I'm not that it didn't lodge in my head. This is why it wasn't important to me, because there are certain movies that already lodged and it wasn't as good as those movies. That's why I'm asking. Darkman. I remember Darkman, and I didn't think that was a great movie at all.
Character design was really good with him.
It's the same as Hush, really. Nightbreed. I like Nightbreed. That was a memorable movie for me.
Yeah, I have no idea about Nightbreed.
Clive Barker. It's where the monsters go. Midian. I thought that was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Days of Thunder. I actually haven't seen Days of Thunder, so I can't say anything about that.
Oh, I have.
Okay.
You know that Hush.
I can't make no claims.
You know that Hush came out in 2003. That's when he's introduced.
Okay.
Well, so
I'm just saying they're the same
Hush
thing.
is
It's
really
basically
dark
money
red.
wrapped on your face, and that's
okay,
not
but
totally that's not totally original. It goes back to the fucking Invisible Man, the Mummy, you know.
okay.
I was just saying that wasn't totally original. That's all. I'm not saying it wasn't employed in a cool way. I just didn't think that movie was great. That's all. I'm looking around at what the movies were, because when you brought it up, and so you wanted to make a point of what year it was, I'm looking at what else came out that year. Young Guns 2, The Hunt, Total Recall. All of those are more memorable to me than Dick Tracy. Death Warrant, RoboCop 2,
That's great. I'm glad to know
Back to
you're.
the Future 3. Die Hard 2. There's a lot of movies. You got to admit, there's a lot of movies that came out that year. Where I'm just grazing them. I'm not going in depth. I'm just kind of scrolling down real quick to point out what's obvious to me. That's why it didn't stand out, is because all these other movies are in my lexicon, and that's not. And my brain's not going to hold it all, and it just chose not to hold that movie. The only thing I got out of it was the colors. When you say the colors, I can actually picture the movie poster being the circle with Dick Tracy in it, with the red Dick Tracy leathers, the yellow jacket, you know. I can picture that, but I think it worked the opposite way for me, because those bright, simplistic colors, I think that was a turnoff for me, maybe. I'm just, you know, I was saying in the first place, it just was interesting to me that what really sold you on that was colors. I'm not opposed to it. Just I'm of a different opinion. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you're sold on that it sold you on the colors. That's something memorable for you, because I think if you ever get around to watching The House of Flying Daggers, because that you were sold on colors, that movie will make it will be that much more pleasing to you to watch aesthetically. So I mean, I wasn't trying to make any judgment or commentary or whatever on your opinion. Just that it was interesting, and that there are other movies that stood out for me, and that's why that one didn't probably. Well, that and you're younger than me too, so that might have helped the colors make that much of a more of an impression on you.
Well, there's that. And again, it was.
And you didn't know the main characters, probably because of that same reason, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I had known a little bit about Dick Tracy, but not much. And then the yeah, some of those characters. I mean, the character designs aren't really all that inspired, but at the same time, that kind of simplistic. Yeah, they kind of simplify everything. I mean, it's I found the entire aesthetic to be true to the comic or true to that kind of style in a way that a lot of live action films, even if they're based on comic books, don't really have the feel. And it's not like they need to. I don't think that Iron Man needs to feel like it's a comic book that I'm watching on screen. Dick Tracy kind of felt that way. I appreciated it. Ang Lee tried to go for that with the Hulk. I don't like the way he did it.
Yeah, I think Ang Lee had a lot of stuff working against him. I think he was trying to be really innovative with CGI, and it wasn't ready for him yet. It wasn't ready for his ideas yet.
Okay.
Uh,
I just
well, I mean, if you watch the Hulk, you really see the flaws in the CGI.
yeah. And I mean that's we don't need to necessarily worry about it. But I know that again that marketing campaign. I mean, it was almost exactly like what they did with Batman. And if you think about Batman being, I mean, there had been the Superman movies, but they had kind of sucked, in my opinion. They were too.
That's the difference in generation. Like
Superman 2 was good.
I thought they were really good.
Well, I enjoyed Superman 2.
It's really good.
And
What's
the first one was okay. But then the third one, it had some nightmare fuel in it, but that's about it. And then
you talking about the one that's got the robot computer?
Yes, that was nightmare fuel.
Yeah, you know who had their hands on the script?
No.
Mario Puzo.
Oh, well.
The Richard Pryor one.
That was the best part of that film, but the rest of it doesn't really work. And the fourth one was just a dog turd. So, just seemed like no one really put the care and the quality.
Vastly different opinions on, like. So I don't think anyone really liked number 3, but I wasn't really big on 4, but I've heard people that are.
Well,
1 and 2 were kind of it for me, but I was pretty young. Like when those came out, I was, I think maybe 7 or 8, something like that.
yeah.
So that was the first time somebody flew. I was like, I mean, you had the Greatest American Hero.
No, I think he was
later on, but
yeah.
It wasn't like every day you were watching somebody fly on film.
I get that.
And like the special effects are way better now.
Yep.
Like I actually watched something on that, and the way they had to work at the time, it was interesting. As far as Superman goes, I was fine with it, but to qualify that, okay, I wasn't really a big Superman fan either. Like, Superman's always had the problem of he can just fucking kill everyone if he wants to. So what? It's that whole so what factor. Unless you care about the side characters and them being in danger, which they shouldn't really ever be in danger, but okay. Unless that's an investment for you. Superman's really can't lose, so why do you care? You know, what's the draw? So for me, I never really had that draw. Other people I know do, and I know an artist that actually drew Superman for a living, and for a time when he could, refused to draw anything else. Named his son after Superman, named him Kal-El. And I will stop right there with the talking about that particular person because it gets weird after that. But I've never really been a big Superman fan, so the movie was cool, but it was more cool because it was a movie about a superhero. And there wasn't really many of them in those days. Why is this not playing? What is this pencil? I'm sure this is entertaining.
It's fantastic.
This is how difficult it can be to put in a fucking eraser. Yeah, and that's crap. It's not gonna fucking happen. There's no reason that shouldn't just look right in there.
Who will win? The pencil or Rich?
I just pushed the fucking eraser down through. It was at this end, and I pushed it right down through, trying to push it into the pencil. The fucking eraser is gonna win because I ain't got that much in me. It couldn't, that's fucking crap.
Oh goodness!
You push so hard that you push the eraser right through.
Yeah.
And these pencils, they're not like it wasn't even easy to find these erasers. I could find different packs that were supposed to be the size, but not from this company, and they weren't the right size either. So. I don't know. Now I'm scared to put the other one back in. Starting to do it again already. Wow. I've never had so much problem putting pencil eraser back in the pencil. Don't you like your home? Yeah, now we dump all the leads out. This is how my night's going.
Yeah.
On almost every level. I'm glad it can be amusing for somebody.
Oh, I can just imagine the frustration, and I don't have to deal with it. So, there we go.
it's kind of like one of those toys that have the holes in them and the blocks that you got to put in the right hole. Oh, goodness.
Yep, that one don't want to go back in either. And that was the original one. The hole didn't shrink.
As I say, is there like some kind of release?
Look, and now fucking this one went in.
Oh,
I have no idea. It just wouldn't go in. Maybe
That's
I
what
had
she
the
said.
angle slightly off. I just can't even imagine how. I was literally pushing its guts out. So I got to thinking last time I said something about it. About these being like armored, like scaled. When you look at it close up. I was also thinking about drawing it in such a way that I'm not trying to lay it out like a comic book as much as just lay out a regular picture. I'm not sure if that could be clear. And this is what I mean.
What is that?
Hmm. It seems Mr. Brett is occupied.
Do you know where my sleeper is?
Anyway.
So what are feathering lines and cross hatching
Okay.
are really meant to communicate half tones and where something's turning in and out of shadow, in and out of the light. But I don't really draw when I'm drawing comics like I would if I was drawing like a painting. And I keep waffling back and forth whether I should draw like I'm drawing a painting or develop a more cartoony style.
Okay.
It's really difficult to decide which.
Well, that's kind of your deal.
Well, yeah. But that's why I'm drawing where I'm going right now.
Necklaces. Bishops.
I need to figure out storytelling mode. And that's what I'm trying to do. Is while I'm not creating a background or something that's otherwise important to the story, trying to figure out what style would be best representative. Because I'm also trying to figure out what type of story we're really telling. You guy was saying Alpha is a noir story. It's supposed to be a noir type story. So I kind of want to look to reflect, that dirty, gritty noir feel. But that's not what we're doing here, is it? Is that what we're thinking?
It's not particularly what I was thinking.
Well,
But
that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is like, how do we want to do this? Because it'll help me develop the work and help you develop the story if we kind of hash this out a little bit. When I was younger, I would have just said, "Oh, it's got to be more on the realistic side," and just left it at that. As I get older, I see more value in the cartooning aspect as far as storytelling techniques go. But I don't even look like a cartoon either. Because we're not writing something that's going to be comedic. So I don't know if I'm going to be around to do a show on Saturday or not. There's other obligation that I have. I guess it just depends on how long that takes.
Okay.
I know you're not going to be around
Right.
for the audience, not for just you.
Hey,
We've already established that you have a prior engagement and more important thing to do. So,
that makes it sound like I have a better offer.
no, it's not a better offer, but it's more important.
That's true.
Like I'm not trying to make you look a certain way. I'm just trying to inform people that you have an important thing that you have to go and do.
6B Pencil Joe says, I am making Alpha look like Dick Tracy.
Yeah. That would be an interesting failure. That's our government secret box.
Oh, okay.
I could tell you what's in it, but I'd have to kill you.
Okay.
Nothing bad to say.
Someday I may also learn how to do a proper vignette. It would be awesome, but I somehow also doubt it.
Joe said, Rich, you should ASMR videos of your shading with a pencil, relaxing, nearly fell asleep. Said, I'm in the zone. I'm telling, I originally, when
What's
Rich started,
ASMR?
what?
What's ASMR?
Oh, those are the videos where it's just like they'll do like there are cooking videos where like they make sure you hear the knife cutting through the onions and stuff, and you just it relaxes people. I mean, just kind of a calming, oddly satisfying sound things. But when you first started doing this channel, I used to say, because I would have you on one screen while I was working on another. You and Joe would talk occasionally, but yeah, I found it incredibly relaxing. Like I get all kinds of stuff done. ASMR videos kind of make white noise in a way because
Yeah, I get it. The ones that aren't talking.
yeah,
Yeah, there's one or two of them that I watch, but I watch them to watch them doing their craft, not to relax.
well,
I guess it's relaxing, but I never thought of it that way.
well, some people really like those videos. I mean, I'm not one of them really because I'm just not. Although sometimes I'll look up ASMR videos. There are certain ones I'll listen, like I'll have on. There's one that like Train in Winter, where I'll have that on one screen while I'm working because it's not music, but I don't know, it's very relaxing to me.
There's a comedian that has built his own cabin like twice. Built one and then he moved it and built another one, and I watched that.
Yeah.
He talks a little bit though, but for the most part he also just films it, kind of films it and then films a little bit of it time lapse. Just I don't know. It is pretty cool.
Joe said he's
I just like
watercoloring a
watching
bird.
these doing. Huh?
I said Joe said he's watercoloring a bird.
Cool.
How does the bird feel about that? Sharp beak. Ugh. Gonna do some research.
Saw some people complaining that Paul Jansen didn't finish his inking in 2 hours, or it took him 2 hours to ink the Batman picture he was inking.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, the guy's probably 70 years old or pretty close. Second of all, if you're drawing on a stream, you're not just drawing, you're looking up, you're talking, you're looking stuff up, you know. And there's all kinds of other factors, but they tend to think he should have been done. Like, you know, that dude's been inking comic books for years.
Joe said he has a killer comic book idea.
Cool.
A biolab takes horse DNA and human DNA and combines them to make Horseman. So Horseman thinks himself a monster, similar to Blue Eye Samurai, and goes out causing chaos in the world.
I think Chuck Dixon and Eric July beat you to that. At least a little bit. And also, like I kept saying it, nobody was listening, but there's already an existing Horseman comic book. Not the Horseman, but Horseman. There's already an existing Horseman comic book. So I'm interested to see if Eric July releases this to somebody else suing him. Not that I'm wishing it on him.
Joe said there's a space between his words, so it's different.
Actually, not. Look it up. There's a lot of different, the Horseman and the Horseman. There's a lot of different incarnations of that already.
Joe said, wouldn't it be wild if Eric July gets sued again? I don't know why.
Just saying that I wouldn't be. I wonder exactly the same thing. If he's gonna see, here's the thing. Like what we've been doing, we're creating this online, right? And every step, either you or me are looking up if whatever we've said is being used already, right?
Right.
Or
that's some of the worst work
similar
ever.
enough. What's that?
And it's some of the worst work ever because you think you have a great idea, and then you find out, shit, someone else had it too.
Well, you know, and we've already discussed this. Like, we got into an argument over it one time. You're not going to find anything original. what you're going to do is find original twists on ideas or try to mash up two ideas that haven't been done in the way you've seen it like that before. That doesn't mean it's an original idea. And you're definitely not going to come up with a word that hasn't existed before. Chuck Dixon, I was watching his broadcast because he does one, Ask Chuck or something like that. He does it on YouTube, usually at least once a week. He takes questions and he'll answer the questions about the comic industry. And somebody had talked to him about one of his characters that he did for DC that was a fire character. Like his name was Inferno or something like that. And I'm probably way off on the name, but the point is that he said, you can't copyright that word. You're not going to copyright that word. It's already there, you know. There are certain words and terms that have been out for so long. They're common usage. You can't copyright common usage after a while. That's like why DC and Marvel tried to copyright superhero, the word superhero, because they coined it supposedly. Problem is that you're 60 years too late. Now everything's superhero. There's cartoon superheroes. There was a Fat Albert superhero called the Brown Hornet. You know, you're not going to create. You're not going to create a new. You know, you're not going to say that the word superhero is not in the common usage anymore. That happened with linoleum. Do you know that?
No.
Linoleum, when it was first created, it was created in, I think, in England, and then it was moved over here. But it was they used the term so much that when somebody else tried to produce it with a different chemical buildup,
Yeah.
they tried to copyright the name so they couldn't use that, even though it was basically the same thing or a stronger chemical buildup or whatever. And courts say no. It's already been 10 years in common usage or 5 years in common usage. Now you can't copyright it. It's too late because it's common usage. And that's also why I said don't, worry overly about some stuff. If I like a name and you're like, well, there's these iterations of that name, or you see it on a book, or that was a movie title, as long as it's not the same character, you can get away with that a lot of times. How many book titles have we seen that are the same exact book title? Some of them are one-word book titles, but they're different companies, different subject matter, but the same book title. You can see it all the time. Not uncommon at all. And it's the same way with comics. There's a limit. I mean, like say with Wolverine. Wolverine is an animal. As long as you're not using it as a superhero, you can use Wolverine. You can use like a codename Wolverine, because that's not the same thing. As long as he doesn't have claws that grow out of his skin and basically the same things as Wolverine does. If there's some distinction. A lot of the copyright ideas that to make it so that nobody's going to confuse products. Like buying somebody else's product thinking it's yours because the name is the same. That's why Isom now isn't all capital letters, it's only a capital I. Eric July can say that he didn't do anything, it wasn't anything, but he changed the way that they wrote Isom. So, no damn well, he had to do something to change it. not to bring this focus on Eric July or whatever, because that's not the point. The point is if I can look up and you can look up, and neither one of us is producing comic books. We don't have our comic book company, whatever. This is the first time we've ever tried to produce one, right? So, we don't have any foreknowledge or special knowledge that Eric wouldn't have had. And we're already looking stuff up to see if, it's taken or used, or how often it's used. See, if it's used very often, then that's it's another indicator that it would be all right, because if everyone's using that name, then it's not, it's not a one. It's not just one company's name for it or something. It's not Wolverine. It's not Superman. It's not Spider-Man. Because if there's 700 different Spider-Men from different Spider-Man different comic companies, then Spider-Man's no longer unique, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be some kind of limitation, because there's got to be a way to create new properties without being subject to somebody else's property that's unrelated but just has some form of similarity. And I think, a name is... I think there should be some distinction, and that's going to be fair July's defense, in my opinion. But in my opinion, I think there should be some distinction between a ministry and a comic book, which they are obviously different. When they are very obviously not the same thing, I think there should be a distinction there. But, there's another way to think.
Yeah, I think that lawsuit was BS, but...
Well, I don't think it was frivolous. I think that there's somebody informed that ministry that the name Iceland was being used. And they probably, when they were informing them, were saying that it's being used to be confused with a Christian thing or something. It probably was misinformed. And the reaction from Eric was probably dismissive when they held the copyright. So, they hold the copyright. They could make demands, and they could not let him use it. They were gracious enough to let him use it, but he also sent his followers to attack them, which is also just as wrong. Now we're doing that shit again. Battery is running low. I guess we're pretty much coming to a close, because my computer
Joe said
wants to go to sleep, apparently, which it never does.
Well,
What?
Joe said, didn't Eric have a relative named Isom? But
Yeah.
he is character religious tone to the book. I think that's what the lawsuit was over. All right.
Yeah, he had, his great grandfather, he said, something like that, was telling me, oh, that might be it. Son of a gun.
What? Okay. Apparently, we're having technical difficulties. What did he know about Eric July? What was he about to reveal? For the record, Mr. July, if you're watching, I thought the lawsuit was stupid. All right, well, I guess Rich is really gone. Huh.
Big in the middle.
It's my stream now. I went from being a viewer to running the whole show. All right, well, no, pull out the sketchbook. I don't think so. No, because you see, there's talent, and then there's what I have, which is not talent. Golly. I guess I'm gonna call that a show. So, thanks for stopping by. And, yeah, I guess I'll go to bed too. So, thanks everyone for watched. Have a good one, Joe. Rich, if you see this, I waited
For like 38 seconds.
for like 38 seconds, but there's no room for you on the floating piece of wood. It's just room for me. Anyway, talk to you later. Have a good one. Peace.